Legality Assurance System Assessment Framework. Here we want to show you what we were doing, what type of concept of result we have achieved, and how it is all working. This is the first video of a series of videos that you can watch and in preparation of the upcoming export workshop. My name is Uli Malesa, and I have my colleagues in the background, Yola Leal and Duran Koopmans. So what is the Timber Legality Assurance System? A TLAS is a national system designed to verify and demonstrate that timber and timber products conform to national laws. A complete and robust TLAS has at least 6 elements. First, a legality standard, which identifies the applicable subset of national laws. Second, a supply chain control and verification element that provides the mechanisms to ensure and to demonstrate that timber is legal. A third element refers to transparency and involvement of stakeholders. Another one is government oversight, so it's a type of quality management within the overall forest governance. Enforcement actions are also part of it, and lastly, a level of policy response, so are results of the TLAS used to formulate further and improved policies. A TLAS may, but does not have to, produce a legality statement. So these are all 6 TLAS elements with their definitions. So if you want, stop the video here and scan and read a little bit the definitions. How does a TLAS work functionally? So this is a TLAS, and here we have the supply chain. It starts from forest use rights, timber harvesting through brownwood trade and processing. This is a simplified supply chain, but we will use simplified approaches throughout our concept. So the legality standard defines the laws that each step in the supply chain are relevant. That supply chain control and verification are the mechanisms that are applied directly to the supply chain, and we have transparency and stakeholder involvement throughout the whole supply chain. Then if there are incompliances, we have enforcement actions. Government oversight is monitoring the overall functioning of the system, and then policy response sits on top and uses the outcome. And lastly, again, optionally or potentially or may result in a legality statement. So here again is our TLAS system, and this is how it was elaborated. You need to define legality, you define the supply chain control, and to define stakeholder needs. And by this, you can shape and design the system. A governance system should speak to the governance framework principles. There are 6 identified: effectiveness, accountability, transparency, stakeholder involvement, fairness and equity, and efficiency. So by this, we have set the scene. So where do TLAS exist? In 94 countries, FAO has reports that there is a timber traceability system working. Among these countries, you find very advanced countries like Romania with the SUMAL 2.0 system, or also VPA-endorsed systems like the Indonesian SVLK. And 12 countries have started or concluded a VPA process. So there was a process to set up a TLAS, a very structured process to set up a TLAS. So what is the TLAS assessment framework? It aims to be a centralized source that provides a comprehensive overview of how and where different approaches are being applied. It offers an easy access to more in-depth information about successful or promising approaches. It is a diagnostic tool that is used to assess how a given TLAS works, how comprehensive and robust it is. So it has, let's say, a kind of a judgment aspect, an assessment aspect. And for this, we use the good forest governance principles. The TLAS assessment framework provides both objective de facto and de jure information, but also subjective information. Here you see what de facto information is and what de jure information is. If you look at a TLAS, you can have 4 layers of information that you use. So we use the first 3 layers. One is the pure technical profile. It's de facto and de jure information on how a TLAS is set up. We found 126 indicators on this. Then we have a second layer, is the implementation, and we found 50 indicators. Another layer is the context in which a TLAS is operating, so whether they are or they are not concerns regarding timber legality. And we designed the system to extract those type of information from external data sets. A fourth layer could be to look at impact. However, impact-related information on TLAS does exist, but it's scattered and not standardized. So for now, we do not believe we can use that information in a standardized and comparable way. So the structure of the indicators now look like this. You see here the TLAS elements, and you see how many indicators describe each TLAS element. And the supply chain control and verification is described by 56 indicators. Here you see the indicator sets for implementation assessment, and it's getting thinner around fairness and equity, while effectiveness and efficiency seems to be quite well described. When we look at topics of interest, then you see to which topics these 170 plus indicators speak. So the data. This is our data capturing sheet, and how do we do it? So here you see the supply chain step, starting from a general level that is system level, but then through from the forest to final product processing. Then we capture descriptive value, which is entered by the expert. So these are values that can be standardized or free text or references that are provided to substantiate and support an assessment value. So each indicator is answered by one assessment value, which is chosen and entered by the expert. These values are standardized, and the system then assigns a strength value to the given assessment value automatically. How do we generate the concerns assessment? So here you see again the supply chain steps, and for each supply chain step we develop one concern value. Here you see the concern value, which can range between 10 and between 1 and 10. And these are the data sets that we use. So we use FSC risk assessment, preferred by nature risk assessment, and the Chatham House forest governance assessment. And we extract for each area of law the results. And then that gets calculated into one concerns value for that law set. And later that gets translated into the value for each supply chain step. Finally, the fit for concern value. So what is this? The first input is the concerns value. So we know whether there are more or less concerns on a given in a given supply chain step. And then we have the strength value of how a TLAS is a functioning of how a TLAS looks like. we put both of these inputs together, and the outcome then is whether a system is robust, moderate, or weak. This is the fit for concern value. Later on in the dashboards, you see it working. So the result dashboards are different, and that's one of the topics we want to discuss with you. So we have the technical profile based only on objective data, but we can also generate a technical profile where we show the subjective data, means the strength values and the concern level. We can compare countries based on objective data, or we can compare countries based on objective and subjective data, and we have the implementation assessment, which is purely subjective data. Also, we will provide a full PDF download of the whole assessment. Well, thank you. And then the next videos are regarding the dashboards and regarding how to read the outcomes.